It was Wednesday in the NBA. There were 8 games on. Let's recap all of the action across the league, including some unbelievable performances. Up in Boston, Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am one of those melodramatic fools. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky, joshloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, and on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. New FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Go to FanDuel.com to get started. Also check out LockedOnDaily.com and find the best newsletter for your favorite NBA team. That is LockedOnDaily.com. And you're double banging here, you're subscribing on all the platforms, and you're leaving comments and thumbs and whatever else suits you. What else suits you? Sometimes I forget when I do these shows that people don't listen all the time, or there are new people coming in, and they don't always get all of the jokes and thoughts and the way that I approach things. That's good for those of you who are around all the time and are used to it, but not everyone is. Not everyone, and I sometimes forget that. Like the guy who thought that I was mispronouncing Karis LeVert's name and calling him Jakaris. I go, yeah, I'm not. But I forget that people don't get the jokes that originated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago. Sorry, I'll try to do better. What day is it? It's National Dentist Day. So if you're one of those people who likes to stick their fingers in other people's mouths, it's your day. It's probably your day every day, but today we're actually celebrating the qualified people to do that, and they are dentists. So shout out to you guys for keeping our teeth healthy and giving us excuses to get out of other events, but also making up excuses to get out of going to see you. Let's talk about the NBA. Let's talk about what we need to look at. Let's get a couple of news items in, and it is in New York, where Karl-Anthony Towns, I think most people just assumed that Towns wasn't going to play, but he is. He's not on the injury report. He is ready for their 5-game road trip. They've got a Los Angeles back-to-back, a crypto Intuit, or is it an Intuit crypto double banger, and another 3 games out in California, I think, or maybe one's in Portland. But anyway, they've got a 5-game road trip out on the West Coast. That doesn't mean that there's not other weird injuries that have popped up. OG Anunoby is questionable. Mitchell Robinson is questionable. Precious Achiuwa is questionable. Now, those things don't really matter if Towns is playing. But what it does mean, if you're in the deeper double onyxes, you'll get Robinson as the backup on one game and Achiuwa as the backup on the other. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Like, if I would say that Robinson's questionable tag is just because it's a back-to-back. So if Achiuwa's not available Thursday, Robinson will play. They'll do the old switcheroo and switch it up on the next game, and Towns is there for both of them. So any hope of streaming Precious is done. You might get 0 games out of him. You will only get 1 game maximum out of Mitch Robinson, so there is no stream value for those Knicks across those 2 days. None. Done. Cooked. Finished. All over. Don't worry about it. We're not going to be looking into it. And that's really all the major sort of news, unless you want me to talk about the Knicks signing Marjon Beauchamp to a contract or anything like that. No, don't care about that too much. That's fine. Let's go in and talk about the first game. The Cleveland Cavaliers did it again. 12 games in a row for the Cavs. They are just, I don't know, man. Like, who do you think is going to win the title? Is it, like, obviously the 2 best teams in the NBA at this point are Cleveland and Oklahoma City. I don't think there's any question about that. Boston comes in after those guys, but both teams just continue to do things which are incredibly impressive. The Cavs are just, honestly, for a fantasy perspective, you want the Cavs to lose a couple here because you don't want them to just be so far ahead that they're just going to go on a pure Utah Jazz-esque resting idea. We'll talk about the Heat first in this one. They did welcome back Davion Mitchell, but unfortunately, there was no Tyler Hero. Mitchell started, Hero was out, so Mitchell took his place. Bam went crazy in this one. They lost 112-107, but 34, 12, and 5 for Bam with 3 triples. He has had a horrible start to the season. I would not be surprised. Hear me out. Hear me out on this. Now, I respect the military, especially General Soreness. I would not be surprised if the Jimmy Butler poison, in fact, infected most people on this team, including Bam, because he was terrible. Remember how many games where he just shoots 30%, 40%? What is wrong with this guy? Is he washed? And then coincidentally, 100% a coincidence, Jimmy's gone and Bam is great again. So, I don't know. Probably just a coincidence. Probably. Bam was awesome. We got a Hayward-Highsmith game. I refuse. I don't want to. I refuse to acknowledge that it could be anything. It could be anything. Most likely it's nothing. But he had 13 points in 27 minutes with 2 steals. But we know the Highsmith cycle. You can't really trust it at all. It's a dice roll. You go, I guess maybe I can get a block or a steal out of Hayward. Because he could literally play 0 minutes. There was no Wiggins or Hero in this game. No Ware. No Huckers as well. So all those guys could come back and push Hayward to a 0. Davion only played 26 minutes. He did have 7 assists and a steal. But honestly, anything else you get from Davion Mitchell is bonus stuff. You don't care about it. You want assists and steals, and he sort of delivered that. And Kyle Anderson played some backup center minutes here. 7, 11, and 7 from the big fella himself, Chinese national team legend, Kyle Anderson. He is only a deeper league sort of an option. And Alec Burks, who is a good free throw shooter, and I thought could be a good free throw stream, missed his only free throw. Good for you, my guy. 3 starts in a row. Or Duncan Robinson had 14 with 4 threes. We're not rostering Alec Burks, obviously, outside of desperation, deep league stream stuff. Kevin Love got another spot start back in Cleveland. And what's this guy? He blocked 2 shots. 10 and 6 with 2 blocks for Lovey. Overall, I don't think there's a huge amount to take away with Wiggins, Hero, Ware, and Huckers all maybe back in the next game. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be too far away, though. We'll go on to the Cleveland side. I thought there would be an opportunity given the back-to-back and they'd rested guys in each of the last 2 games. I thought that there'd be a risk in this one of Darius Garland resting, but nobody rested at all. So they had the full starters out there. They played pretty big minutes. 36 for Donnie Mitchell, 26, 7, and 5. Garland still can't get things cracking. He is in a real slump. 15, 3, and 10 with a steal. I fully believe that he breaks out of it. And then Jarrett Allen also went back into a slump. 4 and 8 with 2 blocks. It was a stinking game from the Koala for one reason. That is Evan Mobley. He was 2 of 7 from the line. That stinks. But 16 and 13 with a block and 70% shooting is fine. Just a bad free throw night. What we want to check on this team is, what about the peripherals? What about the others? There's the group of these random wings. So DeAndre Hunter had 16 and 5 with 2 assists. Not a bad game from him. Still, he is just a stream level guy. Max Strus, 11, 2, and 2. Perfect for streaming. Nothing more. Ty Jerome, is that 4 inefficient games in a row for Ty? It is. The milkman went sour. 12 points on 33% with 1 assist and 1 steal and 2 threes. He was really flying, obviously, and there was a lot there that couldn't hold. We are getting to the stage, though, where he's had so many bad shooting games in a row now, which for him is a lot, that maybe we get an incredibly hot run coming up. That is distinctly possible too, but this is not a good run of things here for Jerome in terms of the shooting. And then Okoro played 10 minutes and Merrill played 16. But to me, Hunter Strus Hunter Strus in particular are 12-team streams, not musts. Jerome, you could argue, because again, he has delivered over the last little period of time, but I still find it hard to believe a 21-minute a night guard is a guy you lock in and don't benefit from streaming over the top of him. That's how I view it, and I don't think I'm changing my view on that at this point. Maybe I will. Maybe I'm just going to end up being wrong on it, but yeah, we've seen the decrease in efficiency recently. Let's go on to the next one. We're talking Boston Celtics and Portland Trailblazers here in this game. This was a pretty crazy game here. Portland rolled out the same starting lineup, 128, 118. The big story in this one, I guess, is, well, there was no Jeremy Grant, obviously. Obviously, it was March. So Jeremy Grant was out, DeAndre Ayton was out, and then Denny Avdia left after 23 minutes. He wasn't bad, 12, 6, and 2, but that's the same injury that he had in Washington, the quad. So I'd be a little concerned of missed time here. The guy that really stepped up was Jabari Walker. Now, last game, Jabari Walker played like 8 minutes, and Dwop Reith played the backup minutes. So how could you have known he'd played 31 minutes, have 22 and 6 with 6 dribbles? You couldn't. There are red flags here in terms of sustainability with Jabari, because what did he do? Well, he shot 89%. He missed once for the entire game. He played 31 minutes. He took 9 shots. So he never used it. He never got the ball. He had 14 usage, and he required out of this world, out of body shooting to get this big game. And the rest of it is very empty. So I know that people are going to be very tempted with Grant out, with Avdia now out. Like, oh, is Jabari Walker the ad? And the answer is probably no. Probably no. We usually like to say get ahead of it. The Blazers don't play tomorrow. So you'd be getting ahead of it to waste an open day. And a lot of what happened here has no business being repeated. It won't be repeated, in fact. Now, I think that he's got some value as an interesting player, and he played ahead of Reith in this game. But literally one game ago, he did not. and he just got red hot shooting and went with it. So he might have some okay games, and he can be a producer at times, but as a reliable guy that you would add and get a 0 tomorrow, I'm not sure that is the best use of that roster spot. Scooter had 13, 2, and 4. I do like Scoot, and maybe he plays more with Denny out, but at the moment, we could probably do better in terms of just streaming his spot, and it was another bad game from Donovan Clingan. I'm sure all the Donovan Clingan supporters are going to come out and tell me that he's just not a good player at this point. Again, I would not drop him, though. Fantasy value and being a good player don't always go hand in hand. He had 2.7 rebounds and a block. But also, if you wanted to drop him because of looking at the game log, I get it. That's fine. Because again, he's not good. He's not demanding big minutes because he's not good. And these games are going to happen. But also, he went like 28 minutes, 11 minutes, 28 minutes, 20 minutes. So it's all over the place. The problem is in the big games, he doesn't actually go huge in the box score. He's fine in the box score. I would hold him, but I understand the frustrations. And I hope by now that people are understanding when I say he's not very good as a real-life player. That doesn't mean he's bad. It just means he's not good. He's a solid-ish, average to below-average starting center who might improve in the future. But when you see this is what happens. Right? This is what the player is. Shaedon Sharpe, 25 and 6 with 3 threes. He's on an elite run. It's great. We love to see this. It's fueled by incredible shooting, and I do worry that it falls away. But it's incredible at the moment. And Anthony Simons had 30 with 6 assists in his 38 minutes. I'm not sure there's much more going on. We'll do our daily Tamani Kamara watch. 31 minutes, 12 points. The shooting for him has dipped here significantly, 27%. And this is always, again, one of the best defenders in the NBA. But so much of his value comes from way above average steals and way above average shooting. And they've disappeared. They will come back in little patches, but that is that type of play. Also, if you're rostering Delano Banton waiting, it's going to take many things to happen. He played 7 minutes here. And I feel like he had a big game 2 games ago. That might be a little bit like what we saw from Jabari Walker in this one in terms of maybe getting a little bit too far ahead of it. On Boston, they had no Porzingis, no Holiday, and no Jason Tatum. So Payton Pritchard said, let's go. 43 minutes for Pritchard. He had hit 10 threes. He had 10 rebounds. He shot 20 times. Just an inordinately large load. Giggity. And he was hot. That happens. Pritchard has been incredibly up and down for about the last 2 to 3 months. Incredibly hot start for 2 months, and then that's been up and down. This is one of those games again, though. There's going to be quite a few of these. He played 43 minutes off the bench. He started the second half. 43 points, 10 dribbles, 70% shooting, 63 from 3. And it's great that it happened, but you throw it away. You throw it away because Porzingis, Tatum, Holiday won't be out. He won't play 43 minutes. He won't shoot 70%. He won't hit 10 threes. He won't play 43 minutes literally ever again. And it's one of the things that I've talked a lot about, especially recently, is that happened. It's great. We acknowledge it. Well done. Congratulations, big man. But what does it mean moving forward? How do we judge it as we move forward? Nothing. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't change a single thing about him because that is just one of those random variance outlier games. Maximum Derek White was pretty bloody good as well. 41 points with 9 threes, 3 steals. And I talked about him on the Buy Low, Sell High show, talking about, hey, where have his steals gone? Like, what the? Doesn't get any of them as a general rule. But actually, I said the opposite thing. His steals have been up when historically they hadn't been very high, and his blocks had been down. He did it again with 3 steals. He did get a block here, but he just shot a million times. 26 attempts. As much as I like Derek White, this is not going to be the thing either. It was him and Pritchard just rolling with everything. Jaylen Brown was incredibly inefficient. He shot 23 times too for 30%. 18, 8, and 8 is fine as counting stats, but the other stuff is pretty rough. Horford with big minutes. He'll be out tomorrow, 12, 9, and 4. He was a good one-day stream. And the guys that we considered streaming here were Luke Cornett, 2, 6, and 4 with a block. Not very good. Sam Hauser, 32 minutes, 5 and 6 with a steal. Did sprain his ankle, so watch that one. But that's not very good. But the point of getting those guys in was that you got a Wednesday, Thursday back-to-back. And obviously, if Pritchard was available, you'd do him. But these were the guys that seemed more available. And it doesn't seem like a good game, but all you need tomorrow is like Hauser to have 12 points and 3 rebounds. And then for one ad, you've gotten 17 and 9, which is bloody good. Right? That's the idea of getting bulk games in. These are bad games. In an aggregate, they're bad games. But the idea is you got them as a 2-for-1 bonus. And hopefully the second half comes through and does enough to make it worthwhile. Hopefully. Doesn't always work that way, but hopefully. Today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Who is in your support system? We all need people to lean on, whether it's friends or family, mentors, professionals, whoever it is. You got to have those people around you that help keep you on the level, keep things balanced, balance out the bigs, the lows, the smalls, the whatevers, right? Whoever the person is as well, they're always going to have that support system. And therapy is one of the best ways to build a strong support system. It's not just for the tough times, though. It's about setting your boundaries, developing coping skills, and becoming the best version of yourself. And BetterHelp is the type of therapy to get that help, to build those support systems that is entirely online. It makes it easier than ever to connect with a licensed therapist from anywhere. You've got over 30,000 professionals in the BetterHelp network, and you can help find the right fit for you. And if you don't find that right fit immediately, the first person doesn't click, you go, yeah, I don't know about this. Well, you can change it over and match with a new therapist free of charge. Build your support system with BetterHelp. That is betterhelp.com/lockedonnba today to get 10% off your first month. That is betterhelp, HELP.com/lockedonnba. All right, let's do the next one. We're talking, man, what a game. The Jazz and the Wizards. Who can be the worst? Who can lose the best? Who can sit the most guys? You know what I mean. It's a tankathon. That is what these teams are up to. Kyle Filipowski started with Walker Kessler out. Unbelievably hurt again. Bryce Sensabaugh started for the injured Colin Sexton. Holy crap. John Collins was also out. Lauri Markkanen was also out. Just unbelievable stuff to have all that luck just really go against you on a day like this. Just incredible timing, honestly. But that's what happened. And Kyle Filipowski played 29 minutes. He had 23 and 13, and he actually blocked a shot. And he shot well, and he just needs to be on your roster. I think that there's a chance he starts again in their next game. And then we do get a run of games where other guys might return. But Markkanen and Collins, even Keontae George was out in this one. Kessler, Sexton, Clarkson, Jaden Springer, which is actually a legitimate injury. All these guys are out. John Juzang, the man that took 3 years to be added to ESPN's fantasy basketball database, played 30 minutes. He had 27 and 7 with 5 threes and a block that is great. How much should you care? Not really very much, I don't think, because again, he shot 67% to get here. He's had many starts and done absolutely nothing with them. And there will be moments where he has the pop-off game like this one, but I wouldn't get too excited. This was a game that we got 33 minutes of Cody Williams, and he actually put up some numbers. 12 and 3 with 2 threes and 2 steals. If we get to a stage where I'm looking at Cody Williams as a 12-team guy, well, I know that something's gone completely very, very much wrong. It was a solid game from Isaiah Collier, who had been stepping backwards. He'd been struggling. He'd been moving into being a stream guy for 12-team leagues. He had 19, 6, and 6 with 2 steals. Bad from the line, good from the field. I still think he's more in that stream zone at this stage. Oscar Tshiebwe, a rebounding menace. If you're looking for boards in deeper leagues and Kessler is out, you go to Tshiebwe. He had 13 rebounds here, while KJ Martin, I thought he could do a little bit more. He just might be bad. He's had a few opportunities and he's flashed a little bit of stuff in Houston, went to the Clippers and did nothing. Had a couple of okay moments for the Sixers, and now he's got every opportunity. And I think he just might be bad. He didn't do anything else. Mihailuk did nothing. Sensabaugh did his thing, and that's score 15 on 15 shots. But, you know, the limitations with him. But that's the Jazz. To me, I know that's frustrating if you're allegedly a Jazz fan. Any Jazz fans watching this, by the way? If you are a Utah fan watching, because people love to speak on behalf of Jazz fans. Are there any Jazz fans watching? And A, how you going? B, what do you think about the fact that they are sitting these guys in order to play worse players, to lose games, to give themselves a shot at a top 3 pick and get Cooper Flag? What do you think about it? Because I know that people who aren't Jazz fans will throw it out. Unbelievable, the paying fan. What are they paying for? Oh, these fans, you're denying them the opportunity to see Walker Kessler and Keontae George and Lauri Markkanen. Like, do you care, Jazz fans? Is this bothering you that much? I honestly just don't know. I don't imagine that there's the big out-of-market draw for men. Like, man, I've got to see John Collins, man. What about when Lauri Markkanen's there? Man, guys, everyone, gather around, little Johnny. We're going to see Jordan Clarkson. I don't know. I feel like there's people speaking on behalf of Jazz fans of, what about the people that paid their money? When I think the Jazz fans will be going, yeah, all right, let's go. Let's get Cooper. But again, chime in. All you Salt Lake City legends, all you Utahns, which are one of the best. What are those things called? I know there's a word for them, and I always forget it. The word that describes the people from a certain country or city, state. Utahns, Glaswegians, Taswegians, Liverpudlians. What's the name for that group? Anyway, that honestly, It couldn't matter less, what I'm saying there. Let's talk about the other side of this. It's the Washington Wizards. They didn't have Jordan Poole, unsurprisingly. No Rashawn Holmes. I think Poole might be all right for the next game. Alex Sarr, who'd been doing very much nothing, he popped off. And this is, again, worth noting. Look who they played. 21 points for Sarr in 29 minutes, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks. One more game the rest of the week. Is it worth re-adding Alex Sarr for one game in the final 4 days of the week when he's been pretty below average in most games, and the one game he pops off is a game against Kyle Filipowski and Oscar Tshiebwe? I'll let the dead air hang for a sec. No, not really. No, it's not. Like, this is good. Well done if you held, but we know what's going on. 14, 6, and 6 for Middleton. He's producing enough where I have to just say, maybe. Again, I wouldn't want to hold him through a 1 in 4, but he's doing enough, and so is Bub Carrington, just a 12, 5, and 9, 2 steals, 2 blocks. He's fine. Not good enough for me to hold. Keyshawn George was great, but like, how much do I take out of this game against this Jazz nonsense? 23, 7, 3 threes, steal, block. That's a great George game. I would rather George over Middleton, over Carrington. Honestly, maybe even over Sarr at this point. Definitely over Kispert and definitely over Coulibaly, who had 2 steals and 3 blocks with 11 points. But honestly, I think they're all relatively expendable players. Because this is great. But every other game is not. And when you're in the back end zone, and you're in that position where you're the 10th, 11th best player on a team, I can just do way better. So, yeah. Very good. The factor of the opponents is there. We had a solid Justin Champagnie game. I still do want to monitor where his role goes. 17 with 4 threes, and Tristan Vukcevic had 8 and 7 with 2 blocks, who I still think can make into a good NBA player. An average NBA player, maybe at least a backup level center. But unfortunately, he's been buried behind Rashawn Holmes for a little bit too long, in my opinion. But we'll see what they do coming out of this one. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. When the game tips off, NBA action is just getting started. There's no better place to get in on that action with America, FanDuel's number one sportsbook. No, FanDuel, America's number one sportsbook. You can place live bets all throughout the NBA game. So if you miss opening tip, you can bet on a fourth quarter comeback. You can stay in the action. You can bet on totals live as it's happening. Plus, you can add those live bets together and create a same game parlay. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just head to FanDuel.com to join today. That is FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And don't forget to gamble responsibly. Let's go to the next game. The Minnesota Timberwolves and the Charlotte Hornets in Charlotte, Minnesota is able to get the job done without too many concerns. Good for them. It was a back-to-back. Julius Randle had just returned, and he played. I did not expect that. The player who didn't play was Mike Conley, so Donte DiVincenzo moved back into the starting lineup. Conley, they said it was rest against the Hornets. It makes sense. Will they go back to Conley starting? I highly doubt it. DiVincenzo played 32 minutes. He had 16 and 5 with 4 threes. I was 2 games off my expectation for when he would rejoin the starting group. There was still no Gobert. It was another incredibly inefficient Naz Reid game. 13 and 10 with 2 threes, and then Gobert is going to be back soon. A lot of people added Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Okay, he had 3 points in 30 minutes. He did have 2 steals, 3 assists, and he can do those things, but he's a 14-team league guy. It was another absolute monster. Remember who they played? Another absolute monster from Jaden McDaniels. 29 and 10, 3 threes and 2 steals, while Randall had 25, 9 and 10 and 9. Now, I know Julius Randle is everybody's favorite punching bag. I know that. I know that people hate him, and I've been very critical of the man at times in the past because he has played some horrendous basketball. But sometimes I think the stuff goes too far. And some of the outrageous things that get said are just like, come on, what are we doing? Randall, since coming back from injury, has been bloody brilliant. Like, I know that sounds like an overreaction. It is a little, but he's been so good. He hasn't clogged things up. He's moved the ball. He's been integral. And he showed that he is a very, very good player. And there is no risk to me that he is losing a starting spot to Naz Reid. It's none whatsoever. He has been incredibly good since returning. Goose Anthony Edwards dropped a 29-er with 6 triples and 6 assists. One of his better games, apart from, again, a weird free throw night. Why are there all these random weird games from him? He's almost turning into a much better CJ McCollum, when there's just always something random where you go, what is that, man? Come on. We want something a little bit better. But yeah, overall, not bad. Not much else to talk about on that side of it. Let's go to the Charlotte side. They did roll out the same starting lineup. We'll start with LaMelo Ball. He played 36 minutes. I bet you didn't think you'd be getting 36 minutes out of LaMelo Ball. 28, 10 and 6, 39 from the field, 28 attempts. This is November LaMelo Ball. Bad field goals, but huge volume, good counting stats. I know that everyone's just waiting for him to be done. I would cackle my absolute dick off if he just plays all the way through. I would laugh so hard. I don't know that it's going to happen, but it would make me laugh to a gigantic degree. Nick Smith, who yesterday the Hornets said, by the way, he's in the G League. And I'm like, okay. Then they issued a correction and said, contrary to our previous tweet, he's not in the G League, and he was available. He did his thing, and by that I mean he had 11 points in 37 minutes, and we do not roster Nick Smith outside of very, very deep formats. While we got a little shenaniganized by old coach Charles Xavier Lee. He went to a 3-center rotation, especially in the first half, and I'm not really sure why. Mark Williams ended up with just 24 minutes. You're not going to complain about 12 and 8, 2 assists, 1 block. They're Nick Richards numbers. But you want more. And why did we get 12 Musa Diabate minutes and 12 Yusuf Nurkic minutes? I don't need that. Nobody needs that. Just give Mark 30. And he had been. So I don't really know what precipitated the change here. Because it wasn't like they were getting cooked in Williams' minutes. He just played like the first 6 minutes or so. Him and LaMelo both came out about the 6 or 7 minute mark. LaMelo came back. Mark did not until very much at the end of the second. So I don't really get it. This is the first time it's happened, so it's not an ongoing pattern. We don't want it to be an ongoing pattern, but we need to watch to see if it is. We're absolutely not rostering Diabate, and we're not rostering Nurkic. You cannot stash 12-minute reserves at this point of the season. Miles Bridges was pretty good apart from the defense and the shooting. 23, 9, and 5 is good counters. And Tijan Salan, was he able to be good again? Oh my God, he shot 50%. That is 2 games. What is he now? Is that mean he's 4 or 5 over his last 2 games? Daquan Jeffries got the start with Josh Green out, and he did a good Josh Green impression. He had 6, 2, and 2 in those 27 minutes, while Damian Barr played 15 minutes for 4 points, and KJ Simpson remains out, trying to preserve those 2-way days. Now, this is going to be one of those ones where you're going to have to throw out a lot of stuff. Dallas and Milwaukee. The Mavericks started Spencer Dinwiddie with Kyrie Irving out. They started Najee Marshall over Kessler Edwards. They also made the move to put Max Christie back in with Dante Exum out. And the guy that started the second half of their last game, Kai Jones, well, we know he's got that 2-way contract situation. He did not play. Not because of that, but because he injured his quad. So I don't really know what that means. So there was no PJ Washington, there was no Kai Jones, there was no Dante Exum, and it looks like Caleb Martin might be returning. Jaden Hardy's going to be out for a while. Irving's done, obviously. Jones could be back next game, but Lively's out, Gafford's out, Davis is out. So let's break down what happened in this game. Because there are important things, but some of it we have to be very careful to contextualize. You'll see one of the big performances is by a man named Brandon Williams, who I did mention on one of the shows. I don't remember. I said, hey, there's a 2-way backup point guard. They don't have any other point guards. Just watch this guy. I didn't expect that we're going to get 14, 5, and 7 with 3 steals and 47% shooting. That's honestly an incredibly good line. Guess what? I know you know what the answer is, but he's got 10 games left out of 20. He can play in half the remaining games. So, if you decide you're going to add him, you will not know if he's going to play. You will not know. And they can't convert him until April the 10th. So even if they played him 10 in a row, he will have to then sit for like 2 weeks waiting until he can be converted. The same with Kai Jones. So, while that's a very good game, and it would be interesting to add, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be able to play. Spencer Dinwiddie, he was bad as usual. But we got, what did we get? 29 minutes. We had 6 assists. We got 4 steals, and we got a block. Unfortunately, for some reason, he went, I'm going to go full CJ and go 1 of 4 from the line and only take 7 shots, one of the second lowest total on the team. What? I would still hold him. Max Christie has been, outside of those first few games, he's been like rubbish. I'm still encouraged that he played 36 minutes. He got 3 steals, but he just cannot shoot at the moment. 31% from the field. And the thing I'd be worried about here is the elevated role is making him into a larger focus of defenses, and he cannot cope with it. He had 13, 2 and 1 with 3 steals, which is fine. The minutes are great. You just want a little bit more out of him. He is fine to roster in 12s. The guy that I do want is Dinwiddie and Najee Marshall, who had 22 and 10. Najee did with 2 triples. Marshall in the glove box. Anyone get that reference? Good luck to you. 56% from Najee. Great game. He won't be that good every game, but the opportunity is clearly there. It was not a bad Kessler Edwards game. He had 7 points only, but 4 assists, 2 steals, and a block. But you want to know the problem? Yeah, he's got a 2-way contract issue, and he's got 8 games left. So he's got 8 games left out of 20. Won't play every game. Old mate, what's his name? Kai Jones got 11 games left, and Brandon Williams got 10 games left. None of them can play all the way out. So good luck trying to figure out how you are going to manage that, because there is just no right answer, because we have no idea what they're going to do. None. And there's no way to predict it. Klay Thompson had one of his better games. You love this if you got Klay. I don't think that you should necessarily need Klay, but that's an encouraging sign. If you went and grabbed him, it would make sense. 28 with 6 threes and 4 assists on 27 shot attempts. He shot poorly. As per Klay doctrine, he didn't take a single free throw. But yeah, this is just going to be a messy-ass team. Prosper did nothing in 25 minutes. The guys you're interested in are Marshall and Dinwiddie still. Christie after them. Klay in that zone. And then you've got the two-way guys, the Joneses and the Brandon Williams, without any expectation of how you're going to use them. And because of that, and because we're in playoffs, and because we're not talking about the Dallas Mavericks playing tomorrow and being in a back-to-back, you can't really add those guys. That burns an ad. If you added Kai Jones, it burnt an ad. If you add Brandon Williams, it might burn an ad. He might get a 0 in the next game. And we need to maximize what we're doing. So that's a very good game from Brandon. But I'm not gonna get excited about it, because there are just actual legitimate restrictions that are going to cause a problem here. The Milwaukee side of things, I thought that given that they're old, there's a million back-to-backs coming up. Kuzma had already been dealing with an ankle problem. It's against a nobody team, that they'd sit guys. They didn't. They just sort of in-game sat them. Lillard played 27 minutes, 34, 3 and 5. Yanni played 25 minutes, 32 and 15. Kuzma played 27 minutes for a very efficient Kuzma game, 78 from the field. But of course, he had the 0-0, 0 assists, 0 steals, and 0 blocks. That's the Kuzma special. He had 17 and 5, which again remains very fringy. And Brook Lopez had 2 points in 23 minutes, 2 blocks. They didn't need to do more than that. Taurean Prince played his usual minutes, so he wasn't that he was restricted, he just was bad. He had 3 points. And then you're going to look at this and go, wow, there are some interesting games here. What about old mate, Big Boom AJ Green, 18 points with 6 threes in 31 minutes. Yeah, Gary Trent was out, and look at who they played. Oh my God, the greatest stat line of all time. It's a triple-double. Kevin Porter Jr. had one. It's a very weird one. He had 10 points, 11 rebounds, and 14 assists. Do we add him? Absolutely not. No. Yes, Ryan Rollins was out. Cool. That's a triple-double. This is the perfect illustration. That's great. That's a triple-double. Well done, Kevin. Have a cup of soup on me. Well, not literally on me, because I know you might take it the wrong way. But go crack open a can. Have a soup, right? Do that. But it's a 30-point game. Your starters played 25 minutes. You still shot shithouse. And you gave us a triple-double. And it means absolutely nothing moving forward. Nothing. Doesn't change a single thing. If Damian Lillard misses a game, you can go ahead and use Kevin Porter. But this means nothing. Do not overreact to it. Do not do something dumb and go and add him. It would be a waste of a move. Just understand the circumstances, the context around a game like this, because that's really what you've got to do. All right, let's do the next one. The Sacramento Kings and the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets win at 116-110. Malik Monk, who was fine to return to the last game apparently, was not fine enough to play in a game 2 days later, so cool. He was out. That meant that Keon Ellis moved into the starting lineup. So there's no Sabonis, no Monk. Ellis played 39 minutes. He only scored 11 points. But he had 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. He shot 44%. He just needs to be on rosters at this point. And I don't think Monk's going to be out long, but I know he was bad last game, but you needed to hold. These are the situations where Ellis becomes useful. He moves past the value of hey, we're streaming in and drop and that sort of stuff because of the absences here. Valanciunas played 32 minutes. He only played 26 in the first game, but 19, 13, 6, and 2 steals. This is, again, one of the ones where you just add him. You don't worry about the schedule with this one. You add, and the value is high enough because of what he has to do that you hold through gaps. Laravia played 24 minutes. That's interesting. 15 and 5 with 3 threes and 2 steals. He shot really well to get there. Now, that's largely because it was a bad game from Keegan Murray, who got into foul trouble. Keegan played just 29 minutes with 5 fouls, and he was bad. 6 and 3 with 2 blocks. Murray, if everyone was healthy, I would say Murray is a streamable player. But with them out, I would hold on to him, despite this being a stinker. Levine dropped 20. DeRozan had 35 in huge minutes, both guys going over 40. And honestly, not a lot else happening there. Trey Lyles in deeper leagues, and Markelle Fultz is barely playing. At the other side of this, the Denver Nuggets, it is always worth remembering. I know it's easy to react, but this is why we do what we do here. We put out the recaps and I talk about it. We try to provide always the context behind things, because it's easy to look at this and go, all right, Russell Westbrook, 25, 5 and 3, 2 steals, 2 blocks, 4 triples. We're back in business. And yeah, I guess we are, but Aaron Gordon's out. And Gordon being out means Westbrook starts and he plays big minutes. And Westbrook as a starter is a 12-team league guy. Westbrook as a bench player is not. And that's what we've seen. Him starting, we're in. But it's not like hey, here is the new thing. We've discovered it. Let's roll all the way through. We roll with it now absolutely while he's starting. No problem with that. That is what you do. And then in other times when he's playing 25 minutes, you don't. But this is more than enough. It's more than enough. It takes an injury to get there. We got the injury. We're there. It happened. Christian Brown played 47 minutes last game. He played 38 in this one. He was still pretty good. The 7 assists are a nice little surprise. The volume was down though, 15, 2 and 7. While Jokic was a game time decision, he played 38 minutes, 22, 15 and 6, and the headmaster dropped 24, 4 and 8. He also slurped up a block and went 14 of 15 from the line. The poop cookie didn't do much, 13 and 12 Michael Porter, but I thought it was really good value play from Zeke Naji off the bench. I thought he was good enough there with 3 blocks and 10 points. It's a deeper league one. And we also got the return of Peyton Watson. There are going to be people who want to add Peyton Watson. You don't do that. He's a deep league guy. He played 17 minutes for 2 points. He's a guy that if there is an opportunity to see the minutes rise, and maybe there is. In the past, if Gordon had been out, we would have thought Watson would have played 30 minutes and would have rostered him. But he's coming back from a knee injury and Westbrook's in that spot. And I don't imagine that changes anytime soon. So don't overextend yourself and look at Watson. You monitor the trends. You see what they do. Do they push him over Westbrook? Again, I don't think they will. He becomes, Peyton Watson, a streaming option for defensive stats, but not a guy that we need to say, yeah, look, it's going to happen. He's going to jump ahead of Westbrook here and it's going to be great value all around. I don't think that's a real thing. All right, next game, the Thunder go in and take on the Memphis Grizzlies. The Thunder did not have Chet Holmgren. They called it a leg contusion. There was no Alex Caruso as well. So, yeah, we had Holmgren with a hip injury, obviously. Then we had the ankle issue, as I realized I just haven't turned on one of my lights. Having so many lighting problems today. Apologies for that. There we go. That's better. So no Chet with now the ankle, now the leg contusion. Yeah, it's a little bit annoying. Obviously, that meant that we got a little bit more Hartenstein, who played 28 minutes, 10 and 15, 3 steals and a block. We're just holding Hartenstein. And that meant that the Hong Kong mattress, Carson Wallace, started. And we thought, all right, here we go. Big opportunity for the big fella. Not really. Wallace played 19 minutes and had 4 points. Okay. I don't know how you could possibly predict that. I think he played 30 minutes last game. He'd been playing really well. And this one, he just doesn't. Okay. Aaron Wiggins went crazy, 30 minutes, 16 points, 3 threes, 67%, another elite shooting night. Low volume, but really good. We got more from Pig Williams. We got 34 minutes from Lou Dort. It's the problem with these bench guard types, is that you never know what sort of role they're going to be chucked into, because the Thunder could just mix and match all the time. Isaiah Joe played 16 minutes. Wallace played 19. Wiggins played 30. Pig Williams played 19. We got 9 minutes of Usman Jeng. We got Lou Dort playing 34 and not being useful. But all of these, Dort and Joe and Wallace and Wiggins, they're all just streamy sort of guys that you can consider. Wiggins has been probably the best of them, but even he is like very subject to I need some minutes because my value is in high efficiency. And if you don't, the reason that might sound odd, but the reason you need the minutes if you're a high efficiency player is the high efficiency doesn't mean anything if you go 3 or 4. It doesn't influence much really at all as a long-term thing. And if you're not generating some other stats, it is harder to have that impact. Now, the Grizzlies were in a situation here where they got Ja Morant back, so that's a W in that respect, but they didn't have Jaren Jackson, so we wanted to see what they would do, and I still don't think we've got the full answer because Santi Aldama did not play. And Aldama would be the guy, I'm guessing, who would just step in and start. And that means that we got other performances that make you go, So Vince Williams played 25 minutes, second game in a row. He started. So Vince Williams started. He had 12 points with a 3 and 3 rebounds and a steal, which is fine. Would I add him? Probably not. Would I add Brandon Clark, who had 11, 11, and 27 minutes on really strong percentages? I would add him over Vince Williams, yeah. But again, we just don't know because we don't know what happens if is Aldama just back in the next game. They're calling it the dreaded calf soreness. I wonder if it's going to turn into a strain or not. And if Aldama is back, it just pushes everyone back down. GG Jackson, for example, played 29 minutes last game. He played 19 here. 20, actually. Had 6 points and 2 threes. We're obviously not rostering him. And then I thought we'd get more out of Zach Edey, but I guess not. 20 minutes for Zach. Good team issue? Yeah, usually. Play against a good team and he's bad. 6 and 9 with a steal. And another reminder that, again, he puts up good numbers against bad teams. They limit him against good teams because they know he's not very good. And he gets beaten defensively a lot. So what do we do in terms of the options here without Jaren? Like, this still doesn't answer the question because Sunty is probably going to be it. Brandon Clark was the next guy I looked at, and then the next level down was Vince Williams. And I had Edey as well as an adder. I still would probably try and hold Zach, but it might be getting into one of those ones like, do I use him because the opponent's bad? And do I not use him when they're good? Like, and that in the fantasy playoffs becomes really tough to deal with. As for Jalen Wells, he had 3 points. He missed all 5 of his shots. He is nowhere near a 12-team league guy, nor is Luke Kennard, who had 2 points. But we actually got a good game from Scott Pippen. 15 and 5, 2 threes, and 3 steals. Now, we haven't really gotten good Scottie Pippen games for a while. I would not overreact. I would not go and add. Do not overreact to this. Ja Morant had 24, 3 and 6, and Desi Bane 15 and 6. So overall, we got some answers. A nice little Brandon Clark game. A Vince Williams start, which is Vince Williams is a nice 14-team league ad, by the way. But Brandon's a 12, but Sunty's going to be the guy that you look at. We just don't know when or if he is returning anytime soon, which does make it a tougher decision. But I think that's where we've got to be when we're talking about the value in that spot. And like I said, like Ja Morant was fine, and we can go ahead and drop Luke Kennard now that he's back on the bench, and we don't need to make that sort of a move with old mate Scott Pippen. Now we can do the final game of the day. And guess what? Dash pass legends, they swooshed. You're going to save. The Clippers beat the Pistons 123-115. The swooshing happened on the Clippers side of things, so we'll talk about that secondly. The Pistons rolled in with the same starting lineup that they had been using, and not the result that they wanted, of course. We did get Isaiah Stewart back in this one, so no more Paul Reed as the backup, but Jalen Duren fouled out. That's why he only played 26 minutes. One of his more disappointing games of recent times. 7, 3, and 4. For Duren, we give him a bit of a pass, but he did foul out. Cade had 37, 7, and 10. There was no Tobias Harris in this game. And Dennis Schroeder stepped up. 28 minutes for Schroeder. He had 21, 6, and 7, 5 threes. By far the best game that he's had in like weeks, months. Yeah, that's largely because Harris was out. I wouldn't read massively into it, but we keep an eye on it. We'll see. Are they going to go into that sort of a mode and play Schroeder those 28 minutes? He played more minutes than Holland and Fontecchio off the bench. We still got 33 minutes out of Malik Beasley. We still got 34 minutes, useless minutes, out of Tim Hardaway. But Schroeder played more. We just have to keep an eye on that. Don't think we need to add him, of course, but we just watch it. I want to talk a little bit. I talked about Cade already. Let's talk a little bit about Ausar Thompson, because JB Bickerstaff said something before the game, and I know that a lot of you got very, very turgid thinking about it. He said, Ausar Thompson, no longer on a minutes limit. Okay? I'm sure you saw a notification from Underdog. You might have seen me tweet about it even as well. But I just want to point something out to you. All right, so no minutes restriction. He played 30 minutes and 50 seconds here. JB didn't say whether there was a minutes restriction last game where he played 30 minutes and 14 seconds. So what's the difference? The other thing, Ausar Thompson has now hit 30 minutes 3 times this season. So again, my problem with this, I'm not saying that it doesn't make sense that there was a restriction on Ausar all the way through, but apparently there was. But on the 25th of January, Ausar Thompson played 29 minutes and 40 seconds. That's 30 minutes, right? So he played 30 minutes in that game. And then he went back to playing 25, 25, 25. So this talk of no more minutes restrictions, bullshit. Bullshit. Simple as that, it's bullshit. Because he played 30 minutes. And you know what the common ingredient is in all the 3 games he's played 30 minutes? Tobias Harris injured. The game against Orlando, Harris got a whack in the head in the first half and didn't return. In these 2 games, Harris out for personal reasons. So while people go, yeah, no more minutes restriction, they're going to unleash Ausar, he's going to play 40 minutes like a man, it's all on. I don't know that that's true. Because again, he did it before. He played 30 minutes before. And they rolled him back down to 25 in the games that Harris played. And I maintain that while some of it is minutes restriction, some of it, I think, is just the fact that the shooting is a problem. And when he doesn't get to play at the 4 and he has to play on the wing, JB doesn't like that as much. So I don't know. All I'll say now, Ausar Thompson, what did he have here? 10 and 6 with a steal and a block on 39%. Everyone was lifting desks, no hands at the start. I reckon you're pushing them back down after that. Not that it's bad. We're still holding him. But again, it is very, very important to maybe it's not that important. Maybe I'm overreacting to this. But the information of, hey, no longer on a minutes restriction, I'm ready to call bullshit on it. Because again, I don't think that he was on a minutes restriction. Because he played 30 minutes 6 weeks ago in a game without Harris. The exact same scenario that we're at now. And if he's on no minutes restriction and he still only played 30 minutes here, is that what we get? Does he play 26 in the game when Harris returns? I guess we're going to find out. But this is not an unleashing, an uncorking, a stockosaurus. It's none of that. I don't think. Because again, you have shown me in the past something very different to the words that are coming out of your mouth. Okay? Good. We watch it. We don't do anything dumb with it. We're not dropping Ausar, not doing anything like that. But just again, before you start getting excited about a league winner, about Ausar Thompson doing all of those things, just remember, 30 minutes, 3 times without Tobias Harris. That's it. And it happened 6 weeks ago. Okay? So I don't even know what the context of the question was. I don't know if it was like, hey, is Ausar Thompson on a minutes restriction? And they went, no, he's not. So people just thought that it ended now? Or did it end months ago? I don't know. I don't know the context behind that. So that is, again, worth just keeping in the back of your head. Keep in the back of your head. The Clippers, though, this is where the swooshing and the saving happens because Jimmy Harden dropped to 50. 50 points in 38 minutes, 6 threes, 5 assists, steal, and a block, and finally the shots went in. He took 20 free throws as well, so good luck there trying to battle against that. He only was 80%, which is not ideal, but a big volume, and then 58 from the field is absolutely fantastic. There was no Kawhi in this one. There was no Norman Powell in this one. There was no Ben Simmons in this one. No Derek Jones in this one. So Nico Batum is the one that started. He had 5 points with 2 blocks. We can largely ignore him. But what we don't want to do is ignore Bogdan Bogdanovic because he played 39 minutes. He played 38 yesterday and did nothing. But in this one, he did something. He took 16 shots. He had 23 3 threes, and a steal and a block. That's very good. Now, a large portion of this is the fact that Kawhi and Powell and Simmons and Jones are out. Now, Kawhi is going to be back in the next game. Powell is out for a period of time. We saw last game, big minutes for Bogdanovic and Leonard playing. He didn't do anything, Bogdan. So, can you add him? Sure. That's hard to ignore those minutes and that scoring. That is very hard to ignore. But the factor of Jones and Leonard in particular not being there, when we saw him have 10 points in the last game shooting 70%, it just eats into my brain a little. Chrissy Dunn, who was quite poor yesterday, showed why we want to roster him. 8, 4, and 6, 3 steals, a block, 100% shooting, and 2 threes. Good enough. They're in the midst of a 3-game in 4-night period here as well. And then Zubats was great as well, 22 and 11. Not much else going on. We did get 17 minutes from Jordan Miller, and he is going to get some run with guys out. And Amir Coffey was very, 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 very limited. We should go now and do lines of the night before we get out of here. The monstrous line of the night. It isn't Jim Harden. He was pretty close to it. In the end, we go with Payton Fast PP Pritchard. 43, 10 dribbles, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. Imagine getting called Fast PP. Don't think you want that moniker. The waiver wire line of the night is John Juzang. Hands up if you've never seen what Johnny Juzang looks like. 27 points with 5 threes and 5 rebounds off the bench for the Utah Jazz. Your young gun of the night, the best first or second year player. We're going to go with Alexander Sarr, 21 and 5, 4 assists and 2 blocks against the Jazz. But still a good game. One more game the rest of this week. You not sure it needs to be held on to. And then the dud of the night, we are going to Keegan Murray. Yes, the 2 blocks are okay. The rest is putrid. 6 points, 3 rebounds. Foul trouble kept his minutes down. Just not a good night overall for old mate Keegan. So we did get some interesting things to come out of the day. We got a look at Keon Ellis with no Malik Monk. We got a look at the Jaren Jackson-less Grizzlies, where we do look at Zach Edey, Brandon Clark, but more importantly, Santi Aldama later on. We got a look in Dallas at Spencer Dinwiddie, Najee Marshall, and Max Christie, who all got plenty of opportunities and should be 12-team league guys. We've got to look at Bogdanovic without Kawhi with an interesting little role, which I don't mind that either. That's a pretty good value. And then we got a little bit of a surprise at the end there from big man Dennis Schroeder. And by big man, I mean big man, road man. Guys, I've lost it. We are done here. Subscribe, I guess. But maybe you don't want to actually after that show. Maybe that's a fine. I understand it. It's all good. But more importantly, just keep things rolling. Keep it positive. There's always going to be someone to not bring you down. Don't join in with them. Lift yourself up. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.